Welcome to the Town Board Workshop, Thursday, February 5th, 2015. Please, let's all rise and salute the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are to my right, one exit behind the town clerk's chair and the other the doorway where you came in. Roll, please.
Councilman Delango?
Here.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle? Here. Councilman Brody?
Present.
And Supervisor Purdy.
Here. And first on the agenda, we have a speaker, John Duffy, who will speak to us about Silo Ridge bonding. As soon as the podium is clear.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is John Duffy. I would like to, first of all, thank the board for inviting me to share my views on the merits of securing Discovery Land, Silo Ridge Ventures contractual obligations on the Silo Ridge project. As a former surety underwriter and risk consultant at Seaboard Surety, Cigna, AIG, Liberty Mutual, and Quanta, I have over 35 years' experience in the area of third-party performance guarantees. Among other projects, I have been the principal underwriter on bonds for the two federal courthouses in Manhattan, the Millennium Center in London, numerous super tankers for shipbuilders Hyundai and Samsung, the Berlin to Warsaw Autobahn, and the City Court Tower in Sydney. I have also worked in partnership with other underwriters on the cable-stayed Sunshine Skyway Bridge near Tampa, the People Mover in Miami, and the Lisbon Underground. On the consulting side, the bulk of my experience has been in U.S. housing development and strip mine land reclamation. I reside in New York City and here in Amenia with my wife, Maxine Petro, who's here this evening. She's a property owner. And I spend about a third of my time up here. As have many of us, I have been tracking the Silo Ridge project from inception. I have attended public comment sessions and written 2 letters to the planning board, both of which have been published in the Millbrook Independent. My focus from the outset has been on risk management, in particular securing Discovery Land's obligations via third-party guarantees. And while there's been much debate, pro and con, on the development's ultimate merits, it is not my intention to address that here. Again, my interest is in risk management. A project the scope of Silo Ridge is replete with significant risks, not the least of which is whether or not it will actually be completed. While the town of Amenia is not party to the development contract, it has, as you know, the right to secure certain of the project's elements, namely land reclamation and site improvements. It is not only my sincere belief, but my professional recommendation that all security you are entitled to should not only be taken, but to the fullest extent allowable. I understand, and I have this through conversation, I don't have any technical information of any kind from anybody. So if any of the information I give you tonight is incorrect, it's because I don't have the correct information. I'm going on the basis of what I have. I understand that an $80,000 deposit has been taken from Silo Ridge Ventures as a reclamation guarantee. I have also heard that the amount of this guarantee may not fully cover what the estimated cost of reclaiming the land would be in the event the project were abandoned. If this is indeed the case, and if this decision can be revisited, I would strongly recommend that the amount of that security be increased to cover all estimated reclamation costs. Why? For the same reason you would not underinsure your home or your car or take insufficient collateral on a loan. Why assume another's risk when it ought to be borne by them? I also understand that the security in connection with the project site improvements is currently under review. New York law, Town Law 277, stipulates that a performance bond or other security be taken in connection with site improvements and that it should be sufficient, and I'm quoting here, sufficient to cover the full cost, unquote, of such improvements. Half a loaf may be better than nothing, but not when dealing with taxpayer money. In fact, it is to protect taxpayers that all federal construction work in the United States must be bonded by a well-capitalized government-approved surety. Since a case has been made that, among others, the taxpayers of Amenia stand to benefit from the Silo Ridge project, why put them at risk in the event that that project is abandoned? The most prudent course is to secure the site improvements dollar for dollar, and I strongly recommend that that be done. My further and more fundamental recommendation is that the security for the site improvements, and if it's still possible to change it for the reclamation as well, be in the form of a third-party guarantee, preferably from a surety. I favor a surety bond over a bank guarantee or letter of credit, as a bond is usually written on an unsecured basis. In other words, it's uncollateralized, which is to say that a surety is not likely to issue a bond for any applicant whose financials do not qualify for that level of credit. This means that the financial vetting of Discovery Land / Silo Ridge Ventures, which the town of Amenia cannot undertake, falls naturally to the surety, which then, in its role as a pre-qualifier, either issues the necessary bond or declines it. For the town, this is a win-win. It either obtains the necessary security or it finds out that Discovery Land Silo Ridge Ventures cannot produce it. In the latter case, the town then has the option, if it chooses, to halt the project. And it is an option that, in my view, should be taken seriously. Because if a surety whose business is risking its capital issuing bonds and guarantees refuses to bond the project, it means the applicant has financial / capacity issues. Does the town then wish to proceed with the project and risk making those financial issues its own? Is that what the taxpayers would choose? What makes this issue even more compelling is that it has been reported that a Discovery Land residential golf course project in Texas, Spanish Oaks, was foreclosed on by the project lender Comercia Bank in 2010. The bank then took over the project, which, though begun in 2005, is still not up and running. While Discovery Land's failure to discharge its contractual obligations at Spanish Oaks did not bring it down or impair its ability to move ahead, the foreclosure remains a blot on the company's reputation, evidence of a major miscalculation, and a concrete warning that neither it nor any developer should be judged on face value alone. What really matters is what a company's financials look like, what money it owes to whom and under what terms, how its operating companies are structured, what recourse lenders have to its parent, what litigation the company may be party to, how good the company's management is, as well as questions of a similar nature too numerous to go into here. By requiring Discovery Land / Silo Ridge Ventures to bond the site improvements, and if still possible, the reclamation, you can be assured that each of these questions and many more will be posed, and that absent the right answers, no bonds will be issued. Is that not information that the Town Board of Amenia and the Planning Board would like to have? Would it not be of great benefit to us all? As per the town's own code, and in conjunction with New York Law 277, the risk management framework to address all of this is firmly in place. Yet the ultimate purpose of risk management is risk mitigation or even loss mitigation, the ability to contain a liability once it has crystallized. In this case, the town of Amenia would need to trigger its maximum risk mitigation capability. That is, require bonds on a full cost basis in order to be in sync with its own risk management framework. what underwriters call acting prudently. The worst outcome here would be to turn a project viewed as a potentially great benefit into a bitter, punishing loss. And that could very well happen if Discovery Land Silo Ridge Ventures should at some point abandon this project, owing either to their own lack of resources or another economic downturn. By requiring full cost surety bonds, those risks can either be avoided or greatly reduced. Thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts with you. If there are any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe, can we clarify something?
A public comment is next.
I'll put my name.
You'll put your name, good.
I'm gonna go after you, after you. I think Tom is going to speak.
Okay, Tom?
It's a true pleasure to see someone, whether it be a town member or what, that really takes the interest of the town at heart and tries to protect it. Now, if I would like to see you take on Duchess Land Conservancy offers and require that Silo Ridge do that on the land. That has nothing to do with the infrastructure or anything else, just the land. But they outline it, if you followed their requirements, we wouldn't have all this trouble. But nobody seems to want to. And I'm sure that Pedro would rather bring in his own conservancy group to cover it as opposed to this one. And yet we all have had dealings with Duchess Land Conservancy in the past. And they have proven to be satisfactory, not always to my liking, but they've been truly good for the town. And I urgently request that the town board require that. Thank you.
Hello, Pedro Torres from Silo Ridge. So I'll discuss a couple of comments. I think to Mr. Stuffy's questions with regards to bonding, we are providing surety bonds, AM best rating, A plus, for all the improvements. There are going to be 100% of the cost. The town engineer right now at the moment is preparing all those costs, and we'll be doing that. So that is not a problem with us moving forward. The reclamation bond right now only covers golf work. A new reclamation bond for the site improvements will also be put in place. The reason that that was put in place as a cash security was it was a preference with the town, and rather than us incurring the cost with the bond, we said we'll just put the full amount in an escrow account with the town, and the town can have that available at any time. With regards to our company financials, we have no debt. My family has done over $50 billion in infrastructure work. They currently have over $6.5 billion in infrastructure work in South America. Discovery Land's financials speak for themselves. This year alone, they're over $1 billion in sales. So, excuse me? We're the majority partner, so it's irrelevant at the time. And with regards to the Spanish Oaks, I'll just read a letter that was sent to us by them. But the claims made in an October 22nd letter to the editor, performance and completion bonds and unresolved issues at Silo Ridge are false and exceptionally misleading. The letter, accompanied by comments submitted to the Amenia Town Planning Board, alleges that financial problems with Discovery Land and a failure to secure bonding led to the halt of Spanish Oaks development in Austin, Texas. The letter tries to suggest those same problems could foreshadow our development in Silo Ridge. Like many other developments, Spanish Oaks experienced financial hardships during the economic collapse. Discovery was a minority partner and fully funded all equity contributions to the project. Unfortunately, as minority partner, Discovery did not control the project's restructuring process. Discovery has been and continues to be a financially strong company with over $1 billion in sales in 2014. Additionally, Discovery has generated a total in excess of $3 billion in the past 5 years. The letter also falsely claims that the development of Spanish Oak was never bonded. Spanish Oak was a fully bonded project. The suggestion of Spanish Oak was a failure also runs counter to facts. Discovery led the efforts to develop or redevelop substantial infrastructure improvements, golf course, and clubhouse facilities, and various amenities centers and parks. Today, Spanish Oaks is ranked third among all golf courses in Texas, according to Golf Digest. Discovery has successfully developed over 16 golf communities. The town of Amenia can expect similar levels of success from Silo Ridge. We have a strong national record that we're proud of and are committed to building a world-class project in Amenia, and will create thousands of local jobs, millions of dollars in tax revenues for the town and the school district, and will protect our vital environmental assets. That was from one of the partners of Discovery. So I know that the letter you read came from an article in the paper and the internet, but the reality was the project was fully bonded, was fully completed. The issues that it had was the main equity partner who decided to part the job, not necessarily Discovery. Hopefully those answer some of the questions that were submitted today. With regards to Tom's question with regards to Dutchess Land Conservancy, it should be noted that we are a large supporter of Dutchess Land Conservancy. We've been over the last 5 years. We're working with them and hopefully being able to solidify all of our efforts and have a plan that works for both of us. Ultimately, the plan has to work for both parties in order to be able to make it happen. Otherwise, we do have another land conservancy that specializes doing this type of projects that will be willing to take it. However, it is our goal, and hopefully we can make it happen to make sure that Dutchess Land Conservancy is part of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Supervisors report. The old oil supply lines that were in poor condition were replaced successfully on Friday, January 23rd. Shut-off valves were also added. The tank monitor system certification required by DEC and not done since 2010 was completed on Monday, January 26th. The new server will be installed on Friday, February 13th. The existing Dell server was out of warranty on 5/26/2013 and was purchased on 5/26/2010. Life cycle on a server is usually 4 years, which is why it's being replaced. Also to be installed at that time is the Data Disaster Recovery and Business Continuity Backup System that meets the New York State Controller's Office requirements.
Victoria, we authorized the purchase of the server back in December. Why did it take so long for them to
They were
get it to
prepping
us?
it.
Okay.
It isn't something they can just order. They said they were prepping it. So that's what they told me,
And the hard drives from the old server are going to remain with the town? Yes?
as far as I know.
Okay, good.
Building Together Dutchess County is accepting applications for no-cost home repairs for homeowners who meet income and eligibility requirements. Applications can be picked up at the Amenia Town Hall, outside the Town Hall meeting room. There are several there now. I also received a letter from Hudson Valley area. Tom, will you please be quiet while I am speaking? Thank you. Hudson Valley Area Labor Federation, AFL-CIO, dear Supervisor Mayor, the Hudson Valley Area Labor Federation, representing 114,000 union members throughout the Hudson Valley, ask you to support the attached resolution asking to keep the Mid-Hudson Postal Facility plant opened. On January 7, 2015, the Mid-Hudson Postal Facility received the required 90-day notification scheduling the plant to close on April 18, 2015. which would cause 150 Hudson Valley residents to lose their jobs. The closure of this facility and loss of jobs will hurt many of the residents in your town and village. Your community will suffer due to small business being adversely affected and possibly closing, stable living, wage jobs disappearing, lost payroll, sales, and property taxes. The regularly delivery of the mail will be slowed down, causing residents to wait longer for their checks, medicines, bills, magazines, greeting cards, holiday cards, letters, election campaign materials. I don't think people will be sitting there waiting with bated breath for that. And mail-in ballots. We hope you will strongly consider adopting the draft resolution attached to the letter. If your local government adopts the resolution, please mail a copy of the adopted resolution to our office. So I don't know if the board is interested in drafting a resolution against the closing of this processing center.
That's in Newburgh, that's that big distribution center?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's great for bulk mail,
That the
that's the only
resolution?
time
No, that's a letter.
The
Well, we're not doing the resolution. I just wanted to know if anybody was
just a
interested in doing the
sample.
resolution. That's just a sample. I don't have a resolution for it. But does the board want to draft a resolution?
I mean, what's the purpose of the resolution, so they could say, you know, town of Amenia doesn't want this to be closed?
Yes,
Pretty
pretty
much.
much. Because right now, then the mail will go to Albany.
Which it's going there now.
Right.
It's a facility we've already been routed out of.
For now, yes, because it was potentially closing. But, you know, if you don't want to do the resolution, we don't have to act on it. I just thought I would bring it to your attention.
I think if somebody wanted to do some additional research on that before and present that to the board, that would be, I don't have enough information about how that would affect families in Amenia directly. If it didn't affect families in Amenia, I'll say that I'm for the Postal Service reorganizing in a way that makes sense financially. They're in the red. So it's not like we can have business as usual. Potentially, you know, we would have some of our local post offices closed, and that would be more obvious how that would affect our residents. But given this more distant relationship, it would take a little more investigation, I think, before we would know how it would affect our residents, pro or con.
I
just don't
agree.
know.
Okay, town clerk report?
Good evening. The local share has been remitted to the town supervisor in the amount of $695.25. The minutes of December 11th and 18th, January 2nd, 14, and 15 have all been circulated to the board. Has everyone had the opportunity to review them?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you guys want to approve them at this time?
Take a motion to approve the minutes from December 11th, December 18th, January 2nd, January 14th, and January 15th.
I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Aye.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm changing my yes to an aye. 'Cause I forgot. Thank you, Stephen.
Okay, and tell me they did not come down. H.A. Schreck, do you still have that picture? H.A. Schreck, I have their annual audit, their annual
Contract.
contracts that need to be approved. It's the same as last year, same prices as last year. Tell me we did not bring it down.
The generators?
Yes,
Yes.
for the generators.
They're
same
for
as
the
last year.
generators at the Wassaic Fire
Same rate as
Department,
last
Amenia Fire Department, and the Water District.
Washington and Lavelle.
So no increase in
No
price?
increase in price, same prices as
So-
last year.
I would make a motion that we accept H.A. Schreck as our backup generating contract for 2015
For service.
for service at the same price as we have last year.
Do we have them or no?
I haven't seen.
I don't think they went into your copies prior to the meeting. I can run down and grab them when you guys start your next topic, if you haven't seen
I
it.
think it's the exact same contract, right? It's-
Same one as last year.
We've been doing that for years, same contract, and they've been doing good service.
And they didn't get scanned in.
Are you all
I'll
voting?
second that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Councilman Zelenko?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes?
Councilman Prodi? And Supervisor Prodi.
Aye.
Okay, as we've all, per the emails, I'd like to acknowledge that I now am in receipt of Janet Reagan's resignation from wastewater as a member and a chair, and the board needs to accept that resignation.
Make a motion to accept with regret, the resignation of Janet Reagan as Chair of the Amenia Wastewater Committee and her membership on that committee.
And to thank her for her service.
And she's spent many years volunteering her time and energy working for this, and we thank her for her service.
I'll second that.
Councilman Zelenko?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Aye.
Councilman Prodi?
Aye.
And Supervisor Prodi.
Aye.
Earlier this month, I circulated a letter from a Kimberly Morris. She is looking to seek the support of the board. She enclosed a resolution for Clearwater Environmental Director and the Ulster County Legislator, Joe Green. If you guys would be kind enough to place this item on the agenda. I did circulate it by email. I had no comments from the board, and I just need to know, would you guys like to not move forward with this? We didn't put one together.
Sorry, can you summarize it again unless everybody else? I remember reading it a while ago.
It's PCB cleanup resolution,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
municipality and governing official contact addresses. She's asking the town of Amenia to consider accepting and passing her proposed resolution being sought to you by Clearwater, River Keeping, Sing Hudson, and more.
We're on board with that. I did ask at Carey Institute, people who are close to monitoring the Hudson River and the quality of aquatic, submerged aquatic life and fishes and habitats. And I asked 3 different aquatic scientists, and they said basically the jury is still out whether or not additional full removal of all the PCBs would be a better situation than the situation. When you start disturbing that, it adds PCBs into the water and causes potentially greater damage. So they felt that the partial cleanup, the jury's still out, but they didn't wholeheartedly say 100% PCB removal was necessary. They thought, in fact, it could be more harmful. Now, Scenic Hudson, all of these other organizations, I don't know for sure to what degree they are all in harmony with that statement. But I didn't feel sufficiently compelled to follow that and to let DEC make its decision and recommendations and follow those would be that's the sense I got.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure the board was okay with, should she call and ask? There's no action at this time. If you could take one and pass it down. This was circulated by email. and I believe Supervisor will make an additional comment, but a community member from Tally Ho has sent a letter to the board, commented on a recent accident in the end of December, and she was just looking to see if the board would be interested in assisting her in making a proposal to reduce the speed limit to 35 miles an hour going from north and south on north on Route 22 by Tally Ho. She's also seeking that this stretch of the road be determined as a no passing, and that road signs are placed near the main entrance of Tally Ho Estates and Oak Drive. And at this time, I'm just seeing if the board would like to take any action on this.
I did send a copy of her letter to the safety person at the DOT, but if the board wants to make a formal resolution or request to the DOT, requesting as a town board for them to look at these issues, then, if you could just authorize me to send a letter to the DOT.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the supervisor to make a formal request from the DOT to look into the situation.
I second that.
Discussion. I think there's other areas that we should be focusing on that as well. I believe by Freshtown, that should be lowered to 35 miles an hour as well. As a resident that comes out of Cascade Road very frequently, I notice people, it's 45 miles an hour, but as you well know, a lot of people don't go 45 miles an hour. We have Maplebrook School, so I would also suggest us changing from 35 all the way from where the residents begin, all the official residents of the town of Amenia begin, all the way down past through Maplebrook all the way to the center light, because and also have the passing lanes removed, because there are a lot of residents that do walk on that on the shoulder, albeit they shouldn't, and we have the recurring issue with the lack of sidewalk yet to Freshtown. So I think it would be a good idea to lower it to 35 there as well.
I'd like to amend the motion to include the DOT looking at the section from Maplebrook down to the light at the intersection to see if there's some speed lowering we could do there or non-passing.
Councilman Delango, are you
Yes.
going to second that?
Yes,
amendment
second that.
to- Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
I just wanted to see if you were going to jump on a yacht. Councilman Doyle, Councilman Prody,
Aye.
and Supervisor Prody.
Aye.
Okay. I'd like to share some friendly reminders, maybe monthly reminders of a new topic. From all of the boards and commissions and committees, I am in receipt of all of the minutes and as they come through, and at this time I'm just requesting that only the final approved minutes be sent to the town clerk's office. And at that time, a member of my staff or myself will gladly see that they go to Gretchen, that they're added on the website, and then we'll know that a hard copy is maintained in the vault in our book with all of the minutes. So I'd like to implement that. It's going to be the procedure, so they come to me and then we'll go ahead, but only after the final approved version. So I know I discussed this with the water district. You guys meet once a month, so your minutes will always be 1 month behind me. Still draft your minutes up within the first 10 days after the meeting. Hold on to your minutes should we need them, but I only need the final version sent to the office. It gets to be a little confusing when I have drafts and finals, and I just want to make sure I have only the correct copy in the office.
That means that you would have actually approved the minutes at your next meeting
So that's
before they were turned into the town clerk.
Those minutes don't fall under the 8 to 10 day.
They have to have the draft minutes, so they can maintain their draft minutes. And if someone comes in and says, hey, Dawn Marie, can I have a copy of the water district's minutes from January 15th? I can say, sure, no problem. I can contact May and I'll have them. But there's no more am I accepting handwritten notes on a piece of paper because I can't scan them. I'm trying to implement the office and get us ready for our grant. we know is going to be coming. So I just want to have us all on board now, starting the fiscal year off with the same format, rather than come September and I start something new and someone say, well, you never told me that. Well,
No, I think it's a great
there.
idea. I just
So I'm just
want to
trying-
make sure that we're not gonna, you know, we have that deadline of 10 days after the meeting. The minutes
As
have
long
to be
as they
prepped.
have
I don't want to
them
miss
and have
that.
them together, and then we can let them, if someone comes in and seeks them, we can give them draft and have draft written on them. But I don't need all the other versions that exist until they've been final approved. And then that way I can make sure I get them to you, because
Mhm.
sometimes I see you're putting items online that I'm not aware of, so I have to then check the website and get them from you printed. So that way we know that they're being done. Just
No, I think
trying
this
to
is a
keep the
really good
communication going.
way to
through the-
streamline it.
The heart of the building should be pumping with information, and sometimes I find that I am not issued that information. So I'm just trying to streamline things now.
I think it's a good idea, Dawn.
And as a reminder to our planning board and our zoning board members, each year you're to complete 4 years of training. And after you complete your training, please just turn a copy of that certificate into the office. That way I can keep the spreadsheet up to date and I can notify the board in a timely fashion. Gonna give you that monthly reminder. Dog licenses are renewed on an annual basis, not necessarily January 1, but as each month goes. And when you're receiving those dog renewal letters, if you're not replying back to them, I'm not sending out those second notices. If you have an issue and something comes up and you say, I haven't received my second, third, and 10th notice, it is your responsibility to know the town laws. And it is your responsible to license your dog. So please stop in the town clerk's office and license your dog.
I think you mean 4 credits, not 4 years.
For 4 hours.
4 hours, okay.
Oh, but now we're on dogs. And if you, go back to the planning and zoning, if you have completed more than your 4 hours credit, you do get to carry over. So those of you that are not aware of your updated information, please feel free to give me a call and I'll send you what we have on record. This is where the town board loves me. Tax bills. Okay. All tax bills have been mailed out to the address on record. As the tax collector, I do not enter the information into the system. I would like to encourage those that have new mailing addresses or a new P.O. box to please contact the assessor's office and inform them of this information. If you purchase property at the end of the year, there is a very good chance that that information is not recorded. And as a new property owner, I'd like to remind you that it is your responsibility to pay your taxes. Notice has been posted on the bulletin board, they're on the website, it's been posted 2 continuous weeks in the Millerton News. So taxes are due February 28th without penalty. And the next item on the agenda is justice court activity, and Supervisor Proteus asked that I present that to the board. The email that was circulated from the supervisor in the bookkeeping office. This is a spreadsheet that shows all of the income from each of the judges. And per the New York State Law 123, it is required of the board to accept the spreadsheet. So everyone check their email. Did you put it in their packets?
No.
This one was sent out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this was sent out 2 weeks ago. It's the Comptroller's office requires us to accept and approve it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a resolution to accept the Justice Court activity for 2014.
I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Aye.
Councilman Prody?
Aye.
Supervisor Prody?
Aye.
And that will conclude my report this evening. Thank you.
Stan isn't here tonight, but the highway department has been working day and night trying to keep the roads clear. Today was a challenge with all the wind. They've been hampered by a couple of the trucks needing parts, but they've got them back up and running. And they'll be spending tomorrow getting them all greased and ready to go for the next storm coming in, Sunday to Monday. And I don't believe we have a building department.
I just wanted to add something to the highway department. I talked to Stan today about the snow mounds on the sidewalks. He said because of the trucks breaking down and stuff, they're probably gonna take care of that mid next week, you know, depending on what this storm does. We're having a little issue with the parking lot between my place and the library. The cars, there's a couple cars that have been there for about 3 or 4 weeks right now. Now, it says no unregistered vehicles are allowed, but we were wondering if we could put some kind of time frame on how long the people are parking there. There's one car, like I said, it's been there about 4 weeks right now. The snow's mounded on top of it, and it makes it hard to clean up. And I really don't think someone should be leaving a car in the town parking lot for 3 or 4 weeks.
Actually, that parking lot belongs to the library,
Okay.
so we would need to talk to the library about that. The town maintains that.
Doesn't the town lease that for a parking lot for $1 a year?
Yeah, we do. But
So
it
I think
belongs-
that should be our jurisdiction of what goes there and what doesn't go there. I mean, I know the library has their one parking space in the front, but everything else is basically used by the residents.
Well, we can look into signage there.
No, we should look in
What we
this,
need to do is look at our town law and see if
yeah,
there's
even if
anything
there's
there.
something on there about vehicles, and on the sidewalks, parking on the sidewalks when there's a snowstorm. I know there was 2 or 3 cars that, for the last 2 snowstorms, really, you know, was a hard thing.
Well, they should be reported to the code enforcement officer, because I asked him to work with Stan, and he did through the last storm.
Yeah, there was
So Stan
one,
called him and let him know, and he went right down and wrote up a,
well, he wrote up the tickets and everything and taped them to the window, and they're still there, they were still there in the middle of the storm. It actually got to the point where Stan actually called the Dutchess County Sheriffs, and that's how the cars got moved. So,
which he has the authority to do.
yes.
So whatever we need to do, but
Just kind of a reminder to the people, don't park on the sidewalks during a snowstorm.
they're not supposed to park on the sidewalks anytime.
Anytime. Building department report,
One more thing on the highway, I just want to remind everybody that you're not supposed to be parking on the streets between 11 o'clock and 7 a.m. Stan's crew does have to get out there and clear it. If your car is on the street, his crew can't get through. And especially on some of the more hilly roads or in areas where there are a lot of curves and stuff, it just makes it more dangerous for everybody. So please, 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 do not park your car on the street between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Thank you.
but that does bring up another issue now. Where are they supposed to park?
Behind where they're supposed to park. They're supposed to park next to wherever they live, or in
Yeah,
back
but
of the building.
If there's no parking lot with the building, they have to park on the street, so they're parking in the library parking lot, which is only about 10 spaces. Then when you get someone that parks crooked, it's only about 7 spaces. So, you know, that might bring up another issue. You know, should we start looking into parking? Some kind of municipal parking for the town.
Well, I think the original Hamlet plan had parking behind the buildings,
If we were to acquire that,
that piece and back.
yeah,
of,
Behind what building?
it would be what they, you would go straight back behind the post office.
Not
what they
happening.
called the gut, yeah, I know, it's just, it's
Not happening.
unlikely, yeah.
Yeah, and especially that pull-out there, that pull-out is crazy.
It is very dangerous.
You know, that
Somebody
that
pulled out
pull-out
of
is
there and it
very
was
dangerous.
right
I mean,
in
you have
front.
the apartment houses and stuff across the street from the basketball courts. I mean, those are the cars that are on the road most of the time, because there's no parking with those buildings.
There's
Um,
parking next to the buildings.
What's that?
There's parking next to the buildings.
Yeah, but only a couple spots. If you have 4 people with 4 cars living there, there's not enough parking for the buildings.
Well, the problem is none of them are parking in there. They need, those are the ones that are being given the tickets.
What about the firehouse, where we used to have the town hall meetings? There should be an additional spaces there for people.
Which is a
to
possibility.
house
I
them.
just think it's something to bring up for discussion. I think eventually, we do have a parking issue in the town. When Cozy Corner is, not Cozy Corner, when Monty's is busy, when Back in the Kitchen is busy, it's busy. And I think we do have a parking issue. And, it might be something to keep on the back burner to kind of think about some kind of municipal parking.
And then there's the rail trail parking lot as well. But
Rail
I don't know
trail
if they
parking lot.
plow that? That's plowed?
That's being plowed.
So there's some additional parking there that people could.
It's just the wintertime, it comes up a lot more because of the snow.
Yeah.
And it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So, that's with the parking. Building report, there's really not a building department report, but I did want to bring something else up about the noise ordinance law. We're having an issue with a resident cutting firewood. According to the noise ordinance law, he's not allowed to cut firewood there. I've talked with the resident, and he's using the firewood to heat his house. It's basically keeping his family warm.
Doesn't that fall under doing maintenance for his property and therefore would be allowed?
I don't know, because he was ticketed last year for it. So, is there...
Because they went over the decibels.
Well, that's the thing, the decibels are set, basically, anybody that cuts their lawn is basically breaking the decibel.
And the
Law.
decibels were never
Follow-
measured anyway.
You have to first do the litmus test of whether the work that you're doing on your property is for maintenance or contractual, so that it should not have been ticketed. In my understanding and my feeling, that they didn't go outside of the typical litmus test. If you have to mow your lawn, if you have to, repair your home, if you have to chainsaw a tree down, you have to do those things. So you can't just, start saying you've gone over the decibel. You have to go back to the law and say, first, was the noise being made because they have to maintain their house? I just think it got blown out of proportion. And I don't think we can legislate all these details. They did the best they could by saying maintain or, some kind of contractual service that you're doing on your property. Then you've also got the snowmobiles and ATVs and all of those issues. It just gets into a terrible case of trying to... I've thought about this,
Yeah.
Mike. I just don't think we can legislate and say, between 8 to 5, on Sundays. That doesn't work for everybody.
To me, basically, I think it should be figured out between the neighbors.
Right.
I really think that it should be something that should be sat down. It shouldn't be a town board issue. They should, work it out on their own.
Right.
But again, I see it from the other side, listening to the noise also.
Right.
I don't know if I would want to hear a chainsaw buzzing next to my window,
Right.
8 hours a day for 3 weeks, if it's that much. So my whole theory is, I just wanted to bring it up for discussion. How do we solve this problem? Do we just say, hey, it's not our problem?
No, I think we say maintain or contractual, and those two things are very broad. And if you have to heat your house, and that means you have to cut down some trees or make some logs, that's just for your own home purposes. I just don't think it should have come to this, and I think that those parties should work out amicably. We just can't get involved in all the details that would mean...
But the problem is that we do have a noise ordinance, and it does have a specific decibel level in it. So whether that needs to be adjusted to something more sensible than somebody
supposed
I
running
think
a
we should
lawnmower.
do that.
So I think maybe that needs to be looked at.
But how do we
Yeah.
But
measure?
the noise levels didn't apply because the work was being done for maintenance.
Right.
In the case of maintenance, the noise level
That's what you
portion
should have
is
checked
waived.
first.
That's
Then-
how I read through it.
Right. And, there's a whole series of tests that you need to do, measurements of the decibels, and before you issue. I just think that this got beyond
Yeah,
where it should have been.
A noise ordinance during the day is kind of ridiculous anyways, in my opinion. You know, if it's in the middle of the night, or if it's after a certain time frame, that makes sense. You know, but you're basically restricting people from being able to have the full enjoyment and use of their property. You know, it's kind of,
But again, you know, there's two sides to a coin. You know, you have the full use of their property, cutting their wood, but then full use of their property, relaxing and having a cup of coffee without hearing, you understand, I mean,
yeah, but we live in the country, okay? And you know, that may work in a more urban setting, but it doesn't work here in the country. You know, a lot of people come out here, yeah, for the peace and quiet, but a lot of people come out here because they want to have that freedom to be able to ride their ATV, or to be able to, and if they have the land and the opportunity to be able to do something like that, why should we hinder them? If it's during the day, if it's in the middle of the night or early in the morning, then that's a different story altogether.
so what you're saying is our law is wrong then?
Yes, I'm pretty much saying that there's a lot of laws in the town of Amenia that are wrong. We had our master plan, for instance, way too restrictive. Our sign law, for instance.
It's just, you
Lot
know,
of things.
it's hard because I'm seeing both ends of the story. I mean, if, you know, someone starts up an ATV with no muffler on it and they're, you know, 20 feet away from my house and they're sitting there revving the engine all day, you know, I mean, technically, is it a noise ordinance? Is it not a noise ordinance? I mean, I don't,
You'd have to, if it really, really, really bothered you, you'd have to have it scientifically tested and produce the evidence. You have to go through a whole series, and you'd have to be really, really irritated. Otherwise, you just go next door and you say, excuse me, this is not, you know, what I am on for. Can you do this, you know, tomorrow when we're at work? Or, you know, work that out amicably. There's a whole series of things you have to do before it rises to the level of the law is going to, you know, the code enforcement officer is going to serve you with a notice ticket. And I think that, you know, a lot of, you know, your basic property rights should be to maintain or fix up your house, you know? I mean, that's just what we have to do many times to live. And so recreation gets a whole different hard nut to crack. But I think, you know, it was basically, the decibels were basically set at a very low threshold, not terrifically restrictive compared to other towns, and that it would particularly was frustrating for people who live next to a mining or an asphalt grinding proposed quarrying business, where you would have that just from, you know, every day ad infinitum. So if you look back at the law and you see that it could be, you know, changed in some way, it should reflect, you know, the current problems. But I don't think that we can legislate, you know, when somebody can.
I mean, I agree with you, but I mean, what if this guy that wants to cut his wood comes before him? What are we going to tell him? No, you could cut your wood? And then, you know, last year he cut his wood and he got a ticket. What's that, Steve?
As far as I'm concerned, he can cut his wood, as long as he's not doing it early in the morning or late at night, he can cut his wood.
But it doesn't say that in the law, you know?
According to the
That's
code,
maintenance.
because he's doing maintenance, he was
Right.
allowed to cut his wood. Because he was ticketed improperly last year, should we improperly ticket him again this year? I don't think so. I don't think he should have been ticketed in the first place because it was maintenance for the property. He's not running a wood cutting business, which is absolutely different based upon what I read in the code.
Is there any definition of maintenance? I haven't looked at this, I wasn't aware of it, but is there any definition of what constitutes
There's a
maintenance?
definition of business, and the maintenance was the, like an ongoing upkeep of the, I don't remember the exact verbiage, but it was
I mean, I haven't
basically,
looked at this.
if you go grocery shopping, you can bring stuff into your house. It's not considered moving kind of thing. It was a very generic, low level.
Well, he's cutting
Measure.
the wood so he can heat his home. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how he heats his home.
Well, if you feel strongly that you know that there is a way of modifying this loss to be more in keeping with a kind of clean, happy hamlet that we all envisioned, you should make that recommendation if you have timeframes, and we'll vote on it, we'll consider it, we'll talk to the code enforcement officer, we'll talk to residents. Is there a one-size-fits-all? Yes, you can cut wood at any decibel, at any time except for early in the morning and late at night, something like that, or weekends, or whatever. I mean, it just feels like our residents all have very, very different lifestyles. I mean, some people might be sleeping during the day because they have the night shift at Sharon Hospital. You know, I just don't think we can do a one-size-fits-all, but I could be wrong. But I think you should propose it. If you do have changes to the laws that you'd like to make, we should consider them.
It's just, it's about being neighborly also, though. It's about neighbor helping neighbor, dealing with it. I honestly don't think it should have went to where it went. It shouldn't have been before us. I think it could have been figured out. So that was just that.
Is there anything else?
No.
Water District report, Marco?
All right, start off the year, again, no water leaks in January. Pumped about 2.8 million gallons. Average usage was 91,000. 2 coliform samples were taken. No failures. Did chlorine injection. Injectors were cleaned. Replaced 4 defective meters. Still getting phone calls to replace meters, so we're still doing that. Have I think 4 or 5 more this weekend to do. And for the water committee, Mae Jones she's been sick. I don't know, Mike, if you talked to her. She had the flu. I just found out the other day myself. She had the flu. She was in the hospital for about a week, so she's pretty sick. So she's been Dawn, I don't know if she got you the minutes and all that. If she did,
I have
okay.
them, they're typed, they've been mailed.
Okay, just found that out the other day, so I'll just give you a heads up on that.
I talked to them.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
The other part we were going to look at is pump house maintenance to see whether, do we need to add gutters or
Yeah, again, I want to go through it with the water committee,
damage to around the doors?
yeah, I do want to throw it at the water committee to obviously look at it and get their take on it, but, deterioration of not having gutters over the pump house there deteriorated the framework around the doors. It's taken a beating on the building. The asphalt, the concrete sidewalk and all that is starting to get beat up. There has never been gutters put on the building. Something we got to think about too with the snow. Maybe we want to look at on top of that too, if we do put the gutters, putting that those heating elements up on the roof and all that, so we don't have to worry about the ice breaking. We're not having any leaks in the building through the roof, but what's happening is it does come down and does leak in through the garage doors and all that water. So that we could help help prevent that, and also deteriorate our doors. The doors were replaced, and they were beat up after a while. Looking at them, they were rotten. They had water damage, a lot of water damage on them on the bottom. Now we have new doors on there. Let's prevent them from that happening again.
We do have plenty of money in the
Yeah.
capital. We raise money for that. We should do the
We have-
preventative maintenance.
Yeah, we have money for that. I mean, a lot of the capital funding was, we want to talk about too, is for new control systems, security systems. But these are small dollar items that we could take care of right now. Last year we had a great year. We didn't have any water leaks. We had money in our budget. Knocked out the doors. Now let's knock out gutters, get that stuff done in the spring, and start working on the control system and security systems.
Is the board going to be kept in the loop
What do
when
you-
these things are done?
Well,
Well,
I'm running
you
through the
wanna
water
get
committee.
That's why it's on the agenda. Do you want Marco to get 3 estimates for gutters, or?
I think it's a good idea, because we talked about the doors, we tabled the doors, and the doors showed up. It's not about the doors, it's about following procedure.
So who's following procedure?
Who authorized the doors?
Okay, who authorized the doors?
I don't know, who did?
The doors were, we originally had three estimates on 5 doors.
Yeah,
Originally, we talked about fire doors, and you thought they were too expensive, so
Yeah.
then you decided on steel doors.
Yeah.
And then you said we were gonna, instead of doing the doors,
look at
do
the security system,
do
yes.
security system. However, in the meantime, the frames were rotten, the doors, the
So
door
who
jambs were.
authorized the doors?
I did.
Without the board voting on it?
Well,
mean,
we
we
already
tabled
got
it-
3 estimates.
But we tabled the discussion.
You tabled the discussion, but we're talking about general maintenance here.
But the town board decided not to accept the bids, to look further into the security measures. And
But,
the discussion was tabled and we were waiting to hear back on the security issues that they were going to look at for the doors.
who's they?
I believe Michael was one who decided to do that work.
Under the, one of the things that the town board is the owner of the water supply.
Mm-hmm.
Under the sanitary code, it is our responsibility to exercise due care and diligence in the maintenance and supervision of all sources of the public water supply. The doors that were on the pump house were put on there in 1996. I talked to Gary Bonds, he and Hugh O'Hanley built the pump house.
That's,
I'm talking about general maintenance. The doors were bought from our local supplier Page, just like any other maintenance item or a maintenance thing that has to be done, like at the town hall, if something needs to be done. You know, we go to Pages, we get the amount. This was something that needed to be done. And we've been, and nothing has happened in all this time. So, basically, since we are responsible for maintenance, Markle's responsible for maintenance. And also, when I did the NYMER annual renewal application for our insurance, one of the questions for the water district is, has the municipality upgraded their safety procedures or installed any alarm system? And I was able to tell the insurance company that steel doors were added and the locks were changed. We also had a problem there, we had a security problem. We had a break-in. And to just ignore the doors and
The new
ignore
doors are
that,
gonna stop the break-in?
that the maintenance, and
if
not
someone
do
wanted to
general
break through those
maintenance.
new doors, do we have super new doors that's gonna stop a break-in?
I didn't put the doors there for security reasons.
Okay.
The doors were rotten. The doors were
So
starting to
the
rot.
doors weren't for security
So-
reasons, it's because they
so-
were rotten.
Well, if the doors are rotting out, you're gonna have a door that's gonna blow open, right? So
Yeah.
then
Yes, and the
you'd wanna
back door
replace that.
had glass in it. I mean, anybody could have put a hand
Victoria,
through
I'm
it.
not disagreeing with the doors, I'm just saying there's a procedure that has to be followed, and we just circumvented the procedure and just put the doors in.
We put the doors
Us as a
in.
board, I think we should have a say, and we should know who's installing the doors, where the doors are coming from. That's what a board is, and I think
Well,
that's
you
what
were
the board
given
does.
that information you asked for, and I gave it to you.
But beyond the fact, I mean, if we're gonna run stuff like this, why do we have procedures in place? Just go ahead and make decisions on everything, and we'll just sit here. I mean, it's a procedural thing. It should have been voted on by the board. That's my whole thing about it.
Well, there were all kinds of discussions about it, and nothing was done.
And then we took a vote, right? And the vote was that it was tabled, looking into the security system. And then you authorized the doors. I mean,
Where's all the quotes for the
You have
security
them?
Not me, I got one.
yes, you do. You have them from A&R and you have them from CIA. Back in April,
That's 2, where's the third one?
we didn't have a third one.
Well, why not?
Why didn't we vote on the doors? You were at the meetings with the security people with me,
Right?
Right?
2 of them.
2 of them. There was not a third quote. The security system got blown out of proportion.
I think that there is just a
a judgment call that the supervisor is going to have to make at certain times? Is there electrical upgrade at Beekman Park that needs to be done ASAP, or is it something that we should wait until the next board meeting and get 3 quotes and
But
do
in
that
this
sort of thing?
case, Vicky, there
Well-
was a board meeting on the day that this stuff was authorized. There was a board meeting to discuss the water clerk being hired and water issues. So I don't understand, when there was a board meeting that day, why this couldn't have been said that day.
I think there
That's
is
the
a
part
lot
I don't
on our
understand.
agendas, and it is not clear to me. I simply would say that sometimes what I consider maintenance and what you consider maintenance, and
This wasn't,
it's
was
not, and there's a
an
lot on the
items
agenda,
brought
and
up
sometimes you
on
just
the
say,
board.
the important thing is, we did it at Beekman Park, let's get all of the, there are code violations, let's just get it done. There were code violations, the electrical wasn't done up to snuff in the pit, and we had volunteers going down into the pit to put the pump in and out for the fountain. We just got it done. We didn't get 3 quotes, we didn't wait for a town board meeting, we said, this is wrong, it needs to be done, and we just did it. So there are times
Vicky-
when this supervisor, or whoever is next in this seat, is gonna have to say, it's time to address the code safety, or, you know, this is an issue that we need our water supply protected, and I need new doors that with frames, and we get the contractor in, and we go to the normal business people, and you get it done. What kind of cost was this, $1,000?
About 1,500 with labor, and that was
So for
because
$1,500,
of the
we
prevailing
have
rates.
a
1,500
secure-
worth of labor and 1,500 worth of doors.
No,
I'm
it was
not-
$1,500 total.
Total.
Yeah, it was $1,500 total
It's-
because it was
No, we
prevailing
had
rates.
paid prevailing wage.
Yeah, we had pay prevailing rates, wage, and all the materials came directly from Pages, directly to the town, direct billing, so there was no markup on it.
Why do we
no
have to
tax,
pay prevailing wage?
We
Because
have
it's,
to, that's what we do as a municipality. So-
Well, I'm glad that we took action and we got it done and we got it fixed. That's what we're supposed to do.
I called the
not
Department,
micromanage.
I called the Department of Labor and asked whether we needed to pay prevailing wage. And I was told, because the town of Amenia, has a special district, the water district, that we were required to pay prevailing wage for all of our special districts.
Which is fine, but Victoria, you're missing the whole point. We discussed the doors. The doors got tabled. Then the doors never came up again, and then the doors showed up. If it was that much of a thing, why didn't you say, we have to discuss the doors again? What's going on? Why don't we
The doors
approve
that
the
got
doors?
tabled were 5 doors.
So now there are 2 doors, so it doesn't have to come to a vote for the board?
As Vicky said, it was maintenance, because
Well, Vicky
because
said
the
it was
frame,
maintenance, then it said it was security, and you said it's security. Marco says it's not security. I mean, it's just, we have
if the do-
rules and regulations in place. Why don't we follow them?
well, the problem is, you don't understand on a day-to-day basis, as Vicky is talking about, that there are maintenance issues that have to be taken
Oh,
care
I
of.
understand maintenance issues on a day-to-day basis. Believe me, I do. But this is something that we spoke about already. It came up on a board meeting. It went to a vote. We voted on it.
And how long ago was that?
How long ago was it? 6 months ago?
Yes, and
And if it was that much of an issue, why wasn't
In
it brought
April.
up again then?
actually, it was September 10th,
what was?
the last discussion.
I think we're making mountains out of molehills here,
No, I think
people.
we're talking about.
No, I think we are. And I think what it
processes
is
where-
grandstanding in order to sway the public for your own political ends. And that's not what the people
Stephen,
want.
it's a vote, Stephen.
That's not what
We're here as a
We're
board.
talking
We're supposed to
maintenance,
vote
the
on
doors are
stuff.
fixed. We're
Good,
here,
you got
it's
it.
on the, okay, it's on the agenda whether to add gutters. Do you
Aren't-
want to add
Moving on.
gutters?
So,
Let's take a vote. Do
Were the
you want
doors
to
on
add
the
gutters and
agenda
get
to
3
add,
visits?
to add doors?
I think
Was
we
that on
should
the agenda
move
for
on
doors?
so that we have time to discuss
It's
a
just-
much more important project, which is whether or not to deal with the gym windows. I mean, this is every single move we make in this building, and as a town board, we have to use our time wisely. It's 8 o'clock. We have to get to the other items on our
Vicky.
agenda items, and $1,500 for replacing doors that were rotted on a pump house. The taxpayers understand that. We voted on it. They had money in their budget. We have a professional here.
Who voted on it?
The water committee.
I
for one.
voted, the water committee voted on it, it was gone through, we had quotes, we knew the ballpark price of these things. I think the taxpayers want us to move on to the bigger issues
And I
that this
believe-
town is facing.
And I believe you signed the voucher.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did.
It was a voucher with just a statement on it. It didn't have Page's bills. So if we want to get into vouchers, we
It
can get
also
into
said
vouchers
water-
too.
It also said water district on it.
It said water district, and I asked you what that was for, and you said supplies.
You asked me about.
Yes,
what-
I asked you, because it was just a statement that was connected to it. And it said
was supplies, it
Page's
was
number.
doors.
It wasn't the bills from the doors that was connected to the voucher. It was just a statement from
It said
Page.
doors.
It didn't say doors on it. It had a number on the voucher that
And do
wasn't
you
filled
have-
out.
You have the information about the doors now?
Yes, I have the information about the doors. And the point is,
And if you didn't know, weren't sure what it was at the time, you didn't have to sign it, but you did.
okay. So I know how you play now.
No, it isn't
So
how
I'll
I
just make
play.
sure that everything is there is accounted for. It's just procedure. We're supposed to run this place like a board. We're supposed to run it professionally.
Nobody is playing here.
Okay,
The only thing I'm doing is making sure things get done.
okay. So just do everything yourself then. I don't understand. Why do we have to take a vote? You know, why do we vote? Why do we discuss things?
Well,
This is
are we
what
gonna
I'm
add
saying.
gutters or not, or you're gonna talk all night?
I make a motion that we look into getting 3 estimates for gutters for that property, for
Pump house one.
the pump house. And what was the other thing? You were looking into security systems that
Yeah,
would
like I
meet
said,
the-
we talked about the water committee meeting. In the springtime, we'd like to go on a field trip. And it basically would be the Poughkeepsie Water Plant. They're looking at new control systems and all that. Like to get some education from them, since they already have one. They're looking at replacing it and what they liked, didn't like, getting information from vendors, because we definitely want somebody who is going to be there for the long haul. If something goes wrong, we need support. The other thing too I want to bring up is to the board, I do have to order chemicals probably in the next, probably by next month, the end of next month. So it's standard. I order them every year, just letting you know. That's going to be a wiping out our chemical line budget for supplies. I mean, we need to do that every year, and that's basically the chlorine shipments. So we'll be doing that. So you'll see that wiped out. Again, if there's any that's at my cost for you guys too. So you guys get my discount on it, directly billed to you, and the same company that we've always got it from.
So my motion is to get 3 quotes for gutters and 3 quotes for a security system when you
Yeah, the
get
security system
a
is going to
chance.
be way down the road, because that's all part of the control system.
Yeah,
That's
so why
all
don't we
one
just
big-
concentrate on the
Okay.
gutters so we can
Okay,
get
just gutters.
estimates for that and move on?
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango? Mike?
I heard you. Why do we vote?
So would you like to not vote?
Yes.
Like your vote, like yes?
No, vote for a not vote.
Okay. Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
Councilman Doyle, Councilman Brody,
Aye.
Supervisor Brody. Motion
Procedures,
car-
and we don't follow
motion carries
procedures.
4 to
It just
1.
doesn't make sense.
I have a question about security, Marco. I'd like to know why the chain is not up on Washington Court.
Why the chain's not up?
Yeah.
Snow plowing. Snow plowing and all that. Really, we haven't had a problem with security going up there. The chain's not going to stop much. We had a car up there one time parked. The sheriff's office said they would do routine monitoring, which I have seen them go up there, also down on Lavelle Road. So the chain's really not going to stop much up there.
So we don't have a problem with security up there.
Never said we don't have a problem with security. I haven't had any issues since. You think a chain's going to stop something? I don't think so. And if the guy's got to take the chain down to plow, plowing's not going to happen. So it's kind of silly to put a chain up there.
And people have to get to the cell tower too, right?
Excuse me?
People have to get to the cell tower?
Yeah, there's also the contractors that get to the cell tower too, so. Not saying there's not a security problem up there, but we haven't had any problems lately.
So you'll get 3 estimates and get back to us?
Yeah, we'll run it through the water committee and go from there,
Okay,
present to you. Thanks.
thank you. Grant report?
Good evening, Town Board. Does everyone have a copy of the grant update? Because I have some
Yes.
extras if you don't. Thank you for distributing those. One of the main things that you're considering tonight that I hope you approve is the resolution for a new Greenway grant. The Greenway has been a great friend to Amenia. I think we've obtained $27,500 in grant funding from the Greenway, $10,000 for the comprehensive plan, $10,000 for the design of the Wassaic Trail to the train, and $7,500 for preliminary design work. So we just thought that it would make sense to seek funding for construction since the final design report for the trail to the train has been submitted to the Department of Transportation. And the estimated cost now stands at $925,000, with the town having $800,000 in grants secured. But we, the town, anything above, that amount is on the town's responsibility. And the Greenway has been a good partner with the town. And also being a Greenway trail brings prestige to the town, in addition to mitigating potential liability by being a designated Greenway trail. So I'm hoping to gain your support for that. Also, I've been in touch with the Dormitory Authority to keep that grant active. They did want to know a listing again of the grant sources for this project. The final design report has been submitted. The Main Street grant has been completed and the state has signed off on that. All of the, it's been completely closed out. And we are still waiting to hear on some of our grants. The consolidated funding application was not successful this time for this sidewalk, but we still have an active proposal before Dutchess County. I did complete the community development block grant and the income survey. So it was a qualified project. I think it's a very strong project and we should know soon about that. And I'm meeting with Leo Blackman and anyone, certainly Victoria and Vicky and anyone else who's interested is welcome to come. We're going to be meeting 10 o'clock on Saturday just to go over some preliminary work plans for the kitchen. I'm finishing up a separate proposals to M&T Bank Foundation and Tribute Gardens, in addition to the fact that the Recreation Commission has generously allocated $15,000 as startup costs for this project. So really that's why we're meeting with Leo, to see how best to use that funding, most likely for getting the area prepped, doing some demolition work, and possibly utilizing in-house resources to keep the cost down.
Okay, resolution number?
Number 4.
A resolution authorizing the submission of Hudson River Valley Greenway Community Grant to help fund construction of the Wassaic Trail to the Train. Whereas the town of Amenia has applied for and received $17,500 in grants to help with design costs associated with the Wassaic Trail to the Train project. And whereas the town has prepared a final design report for this project, which is estimated to cost $925,700. Whereas the town has obtained in total of $680,000 in grant funding from the New York State Department of Transportation, New York Dormitory Authority, and Dutchess County, and a local match pledge from the town of Amenia in an amount of $120,000. Whereas the town intends to finance this project and will then be reimbursed by grant funds, and additional grant funds are needed. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Amenia hereby authorizes the supervisor to submit an application to the Hudson River Valley Greenway for a grant of up to $20,000 to help pay for construction of the Wassaic Trail to the Train. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Aye.
Councilman Perotti?
Aye.
Councilman Delango? Councilman Delango, would you like to abstain? That's all you have to say.
Sure.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
Thanks.
So by my quick math, I think we're still short 5,700 outside of what we pledged to pay as a town. So if we get a $20,000 grant from the Greenway grant, and the town really puts in 120,000 of its own cash, we still need 5,700?
That sounds about right, although
Because we're...
maybe more than that. And, you know, when the town did enter into the agreement with the Department of Transportation, it was understood that anything over that amount would be the responsibility of the town.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
just thought it would make sense to approach the Greenway and possibly others.
Yeah, that's what my thought is, that we need...
You do need more.
More.
I think you're short, actually, more than that, because it's 800,000 in grants.
We have 800,000 if we get the dormitory authority funding.
Yeah, we have,
Minus from 925,700 minus 800,000 is 125,000. If you subtract 20,000 if we get it from the Greenway, which I think we have a strong case.
Well, that 800 includes the local match.
we have
though,
100,000
120,000.
from CDBG too.
Oh, and the 100,000 of CDBG,
Oh, okay.
Community Development Block Grant.
Yeah, I got
Right,
it, I got an
okay.
extension.
Well,
Which
that's
is-
great, then we're a lot closer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very close. So that sounds great.
And
Yeah, that's CBD.
that's an estimate too. I mean, when the construction could conceivably be less, but probably won't be, but,
Yeah, but at least on paper, we need to be looking like we're in a strong position.
yes. And I think that was a, pretty bare bones proposal. There was always the desires to have other amenities with the trail, because it is a special trail.
But
we
that
are
isn't-
moving
But
towards.
the 925 doesn't include the amenities.
No.
A bare bones.
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
think
bare
At this
bones.
point, bare bones sounds about right.
But I did get we have the extension for the TEP grant to 2017. I also got an extension for the Community Development Block Grant to 2015. So, and a copy of the final design was sent to Dutchess County Planning, so they have a copy of the final design report.
And we're waiting for them to sign off on the final design?
The DOT has to.
Okay.
And I hand-delivered, as soon as I got it from WSP Cells, I hand-delivered 3 copies to the DOT, because it has to go through several departments.
And the other thing that we agreed that we're going to do is meet more regularly, working on this and trying to draw down funds, because I think Dan Breyer has submitted a bill for right-of-way work that he's done, so that's a separate area of the grant that we can now draw down on.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, what we have to do in order to keep the grant active is to keep sending in bills, so we can draw down on funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when we went out for a meeting, that's one of the things they told us. And as soon as the DOT finishes their reviews and, gives us their comments, then, we'll meet with them again to see, exactly what we need to go from here. We don't actually have a permit from the DEC, but we have what they call a concurrence letter. In other words, we have a tentative approval from them on everything they've seen. In spite of Indiana bats and long-eared bats. And we've got approval from the Army Corps of Engineers, Fish and Wildlife. We have this concurrence letter that, comes from the 2 of them.
Great.
Well, thank you for the Greenway resolution. I'll get to work on that and getting, shoring up support for it. So, thank you.
Okay, I gave you all the, are there any other committee reports before we go on?
The CAC did meet last Wednesday, and we're doing up the minutes, typing them as requested, and then they'll go through the proper chain, and Gretchen will get them after Dawn Marie, so we're trying to work this out. But we had a a good session. Gretchen was there. We talked about the park and trying to get the old Amenia landfill, which is now the Thomas Young Park, some information for people who go to visit it at the same time as it opens, we hope, in the summer of this year. So each of us will take a little piece of that information that we'd like to share with the public who goes to visit it, post some hours of operation and basic rules, dogs, no dogs, you know, a map. Here's where you are, here's what you can do, and here's some interesting facts about it, here's the history of it, and some of the natural features that you might see while you're on your visit. So we hope that the board supports that activity, but we think that has a lot of possibility, and Gretchen has technical skills that she's going to help us with podcasts, which are going to be interviewing some people and sharing a lot of this information just from your cell phone, right?
Yeah.
You can get the information off your cell phone, and Gretchen knows how to do that, so
I'd
we'll
like
collect the information.
little educational, informational modules that you can view at the location within the park, which we think will make the experience of touring the park, or, you know, if teachers want to take the students on class trips, things like that, it'll give them a little bit of extra content that I think will be helpful, not just to the students, but also for the history of our town.
Okay, historian Arlene was unable to come to the meeting tonight. However, she did give us her annual report for the year 2014. As far as overview, she applied for a historic marker grant from William Pomeroy Foundation, and we actually, she did get the grant. We actually received the marker from Catskill Castings this week. So we have it, it's here, and it's, you know, in the spring we'll be able to put it up.
So it'll look like that, basically. Those are those historic markers that you remember seeing along the roadways. The state stopped funding that, but the Pomeroy Foundation took on this fabulous service, which is giving permanent markers along the roadways that you may be passing historic sites that you wouldn't otherwise recognize. So there are some even around town that are really wonderful reminders of how important some of these remaining structures or sites are in town. And I think this is just a fantastic way to quietly celebrate the rich history that's here.
Okay, Board of Ethics Citizen Complaint Decision. We received the decision on November 12, 2014. However, what we need to do is to vote to approve and adopt the findings of the Board of Ethics decision. So I wanted to make a motion to approve and adopt the findings of the Board of Ethics Citizen Complaint that was filed with them on September 25th, 2014.
I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Aye.
Councilman Perotti?
Aye.
Supervisor Perotti?
Aye. Back in 2011, we had an energy audit done at the Amenia Town Hall by NYSERDA as part of a grant in December 2011. And later, one of the things, we had we approved to have CT Mail do a summary of all the what the request of the energy savings and what we could do as far as the town hall upgrades. And that was done on January 19, 2012. One of the things they pointed out were the windows in the gym. What it said in the energy audit was to install interior storm windows. However, they felt that we should remove and infill the existing window openings. Now, there was, on the energy audit on the playground side, they thought that those windows were in fair, good condition, but some were in need of repair. They need sealant, they should have wire mesh screens. Not all of them have locks, and they certainly don't fit well. Then the ones on the courtyard side are in very poor condition with operable sash missing from each one, including several parts. They appear to be beyond repair. So I was wondering if you would like to get estimates for window repair for the gymnasium. Do you want to repair some of the windows and replace the ones that are in really poor condition?
How much funding do we have available for this project?
How much funding? We don't have any more funding from NYSERDA or the grant, and I checked to see if any incentives would be available for energy upgrades for windows, and there aren't. So we would have to take it from our contingency budget.
How much do we have there?
In the contingency?
Yeah, right now.
$60,000.
$60K, okay. Make a motion that we get bids to do the work for the gym windows.
I'd second that.
Councilman Delango?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Aye.
Councilman Prodi?
Aye.
And Supervisor Prodi.
Aye. Dutchess County All Hazard Mitigation. Wanted to give a little history on that. Back in when Supervisor Ubrard was here, the town's Katie Palmer House of Dover spearheaded an effort for the towns of Amenia, Beekman, Dover, Milan, Northeast, Pauling, Pine Plains, and the villages of Millerton and Pauling to get information, prepare the Northern and Eastern Dutchess County Community Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Now, all of these towns came together, formed their own regional hazardous mitigation plan. And as a result of doing that, the town of Amenia was able to get a $111,000 grant to do some repair on Tower Hill. However, I received this letter from Dutchess County saying that your municipality is invited and strongly encouraged to participate in the development of a Dutchess County All Hazard Mitigation Plan. Per federal regulation, all local governments must have a FEMA-approved hazardous mitigation plan in order to be eligible to apply and receive federal mitigation grant funding for public and private mitigation projects. And further, these plans must be formally updated on a 5-year cycle. The county currently has a hazardous mitigation plan for county properties, and a number of communities in Dutchess County have local hazardous mitigation plans at various points in their 5-year life cycle. Well, this one was put into place in 2010, so it's at the end of its 5-year life cycle in 2015, the regional one that we've been in. The second part of this said, Dutchess County has been awarded a grant to update the county plan as a full multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan to include all municipalities. Please be aware that New York State has indicated it will no longer fund single jurisdiction plans or updates and is strongly encouraging all municipalities to become part of a countywide multi-jurisdictional plan. Since the New York State is not going to fund the regional plans anymore and wants all of the towns to join the county plan, and this had to be back to the county by February 6th, I went and hadn't signed it, you know, for the town of Amenia to join, you know, to join this with the county, since there was a deadline. I'll be Stan and I will be the primary and the alternate for people to go to the meetings. And then we had to designate a local floodplain administrator, who is John Fenton. It's one of the many hats he wears. So I just wanted to tell the board that because of time constraints, I went ahead and signed it, mainly because the regional one that we're already a part of is expiring this year, and the state will no longer fund it. And we will not be able to get grants through the regional. Silo Ridge Artisan Park dedication discussion. We received a letter from Silo Ridge. Tom, did you want to speak to this, Pedro?
Definitely. So we've given a lot of thought based on a lot of comments we received both from the town board, the planning board, and public comment. And it seemed like there was a lot of concern and a lot of questions with regards to the donation of the park to the town. So what we've decided is to revert back to the original plan, which we would design it as it was designed in the 2009 plan. So we will retain ownership of the park. The park will be located where it was originally intended to be, which was part of the parking lot of the winery restaurant. We will probably get into a access or public easement agreement with the town, so people from the public can access the park. We would operate it, run it, and own it. Our plan would be to operate it during daylight hours, during spring, summer, fall. It will be closed during the winter. Once the winery restaurant will be built, then at that time, the park will be open during operating hours of the winery restaurant throughout the year. Most likely, we would have to pave it at that time. Until that time, we will keep it unpaved, gravel or pervious surfaces, and it would have the ADA access as well as limited landscaping. We are, I know that we've received some concerns regarding the benches, so instead of doing that, we're going to be using boulders. The way people want to sit, they can sit, but we don't have the issue of maintenance or the benches being taken out or some of the other comments we've received. So we just wanted to let the town board know, and to the extent that the town board has any questions or suggestions, we're here to, listen.
I think this works out well in that you can maintain it the way you want to, and it'll fit with your design of the rest of your property, right?
Yeah, we have no problem either way. We thought originally it would have been better for the town.
Yeah.
But, given the concern, we understand that we're happy to own it and operate it. And so, we'll be pursuing that instead of, we were trying to parcel out a parcel for the town, which ended up moving the parking lot closer to the road, so we just keep it where it originally was, and that's approved in 2009.
I think a sign like this would be very nice there to somehow reference the fact that this is a really important view shed.
We'll have, I think the plan calls for 4 signs or 3 signs? So 2 at the entrance and 2 a mile in either direction. We are reviewing the signs right now to make sure they comply with New York State DOT. So I think right now it complies with Federal Highway, which they're a little too big. Trying to make them smaller. Yeah, signs like that would be great.
Yeah. I mean, that's an outdoor sign. It's really meant to be,
Yep.
that, if I were to say, that that should really be at that site, but,
Yeah, that's a beautiful sign.
yeah.
Any comments or suggestions, or?
I
Well,
think
we
this
could-
does reduce our liability costs, right? The,
Yeah.
buyer.
Yeah, I did bring it up to our insurance carrier, and there was some concern about some liability to the town.
Yeah, like I said, we'll retain it, we'll own it. I know there've been some concerns or questions regarding DOT or erosion control, and as you all know, we are going through site plan, and as such, the New York State DOT is reviewing all the plans. They previously reviewed it in the past, so they will review it back again. We are preparing an erosion control plan for that site, which will be part of our application as well, which was also reviewed by New York State DEC. So ultimately, the plan will be built, or the park will be built in phase 1. It'll be one of the first things we will build, and hopefully, once we clear some of the growth that has happened on the New York State DOT right away between both sides of 44, I think it will open up the views quite a bit.
It'll be lovely.
Okay, and we'll still have some say in the signage and,
Oh, well, we're here to help.
yeah.
Yeah, the plans that we're submitting, it will be part of our submission again. So you'll see the signs will be part of the package with the planning board. We still have to get into a public easement agreement. I don't know what the right word is, but so I'm not sure if I think that will be discussed with the planning board, but ultimately I don't know if that's a town board or planning board decision.
So you have to get a public easement?
I think some of the concerns were that, how do we ensure that people can, the public can actually use it. So normally, in discussing it with our council as well as Dave Everett, normally we would just get in a public easement agreement, similar to like an easement agreement that we would have for the water infrastructure or any of those.
So it's for in perpetuity, so
Correct.
10 years down, or 100 years, or 50 years from now,
Correct.
we still know that's a public park.
Correct.
Well, we still know it's a public park now because we have a public easement. Does that make us liable?
No, because that's just something they have to do. It's part of
Yeah.
their deed, right?
Yeah, because essentially what it does is allows the public to enter the park during operational hours. So it precludes us from closing the doors, essentially. It would be the same thing that you would have municipalities normally retain an easement on the sewer lines or the water lines. The reason why they do that is they want to ensure that if something happens, the town could actually step in and access the property. So they're very standard.
So you reference that this is per the October 8th, 2009 Master Development Plan. Is that the same location on that plan as the recent submission that you had made?
Yeah, the difference is the parking lot area. The original submission was integrated into the winery restaurant, so it was outside the SBO. The submission that we had done to the town in order to donate the land to the town and have separate infrastructure, it was further west, closer to 44.
The parking lot?
Yeah.
Okay. But
So-
is the overlook area?
Overlook area is the same. Yeah, that's the same. Well, the only thing is essentially the parking lot would be further east or down the hill, and you would have to walk up towards the overlook.
So will that be handicap accessible?
I guess, yeah, it has to be, but it'll be a little incline, but it will have to comply with the ADA standards.
So they'll just be coming in and going and parking where the winery parking lot will be,
Yeah, if I can actually show
and
you in
then
there.
walking down the park.
I can actually show you. So this was the original parking lot.
Right,
So we will come in here, and then this will go this way.
right. So that's only one parking lot to maintain.
Yeah, correct.
Makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a vehicle use policy rough draft. I've also included in your folder, what the vehicle usage policy is. And the ones that were sent to me, the samples that were sent from the Association of Town. And then Denise had some questions with the rough draft, with the vehicle use policy.
Well, everything is redlined. I mean, it's pretty extensive. So I think, there are changes that I would suggest that I think the board has to look at and decide if those changes are acceptable.
Okay, so you have everything. Do you want some more time to look at it?
I'd like to put it off till the next meeting, table
Okay,
it.
we can table it until the next meeting.
And I think one thing that I would need to know that might require some additional revisions would be if any town vehicles or equipment is used, and I gave an example like by Marco, I'd have to go back to his contract, whether he has the right to use any of the town equipment or whether, it's done through your own employees. But if anyone else would be authorized to use the equipment, then the language would have to be expanded to cover that. Like,
Yeah, I believe the vehicle use policy is for
it's only employees.
only employees.
Okay.
Currently, it's only the highway department and the building inspector, John Patton.
That would use any kind of vehicles or.
But another, employee could use it.
Okay,
I mean, it's a town vehicle. I mean, not the highway. The highway things are separate.
And the other thing is there seemed to be something missing under the motor vehicle assignments under Roman numeral 2. They talk about the 24-hour use assignment, but in the introduction, it says assignments will be designated as one of the following types, and then the only thing that's listed is the 24-hour use assignment. So it seems like there's something missing there. I would assume you have employees that are assigned the use of a vehicle or equipment, perhaps on a shorter term basis. If this is the only thing you're going to have, the 24-hour use assignment, then I'll just revise the introduction on that, because it doesn't make sense. It says assignments will be designated as one of the following types, and there's only one type there. So
Okay.
it kind of doesn't make sense. And then under Roman numeral 2, paragraph 2 doesn't seem to be, located where it should be. It seems like that should be under Roman numeral 1, the general policy. And there are some questions you'll see in there. I need some input from you on some of the information. There's some restrictions on hiring people that may have a DWI or DUAI record. You need to look at the time limits and see if those are acceptable to you, considering the risk.
Okay. Okay, we'll review it and revisit it the next meeting.
So how do you want to do the feedback? I mean, do you want people to feed it to you and then,
No, they can
We'll shoot
just
you
send
an
it
email.
directly to you. It
Send
makes
it.
more sense.
okay.
I mean, since it's a project.
Okay. Have to have some consensus on some of these things.
Nope, that's fine. Mhm. No, people can, send you their thoughts directly.
Okay.
Okay, we received a request from Dutchess County Tourism, who has a new building, new office space, and they are told us that they're filling their brochure racks with information to help those looking for fun and interesting things to do in Dutchess County, and they would like a supply of brochures from us. So we went and looked at our brochures. This one, the Amenia Gateway to the Hudson, is actually the Historical Societies, and they're going to give us as many, you know, they're looking for like 500, so we're going to get that from the Historical Society. We also have the Historic Wassaic one. We don't have any more of those, so we're getting quotes, you know, if I get approval for the board to purchase more so that we can send them out there and also have them here. And we found that the Fountain Press has the template for the Amenia, New York one. However, a lot of the information is dated. So the historian Arlene Giuliano with Monique, my typist, are working on updating this. And then, you know, once all the updates are in, and making the information more current, you know, we'll get estimates from Fountain Press. We're also going to get getting an estimate for the Wassaic one from the Hotchkiss School. So I just wanted authorization to get estimates and purchase more brochures.
Can we also get estimates? Isn't there a business in New York, in Millerton, More and More Printing? Ask them for an estimate as well. If we're
You
gonna
get estimates from
Well, if
three
we're
of
going to get
them.
it from Hotchkiss, I'd rather, you know, have money stay in our state.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep, we can get the estimates, but I just wanted to get authority from the board to take the the least expensive estimate and be able to go ahead and order them.
I'll make a motion that we solicit bids from 3 local printing entities and authorize Supervisor Peroni to go ahead and order those for the season. How many are you thinking of ordering? Are you gonna-
1,000.
1,000 each, or 1,000 in total?
No, they want, Dutchess County Tourism wants 300 to 500. So I was thinking 1,000, so that would leave us 500 here, because right now we don't have any of these. There's none. Other than some black and white copies that were made. And we can't use these right now because a lot of the information is incorrect in them.
So 1,000 in total, is that what you're thinking of?
Well, 1,000 of each,
Of each?
because usually the more you order, the less it is
That's
anyway.
true. So 1,000 of each of the brochures.
Yes, and I'll get 3 estimates for each.
Oh, Sharon has a question.
You want to come to the podium, please?
Sharon Kroger. In regard to those brochures, the Wassaic ones are excellent. And I did have a group of 500 reprinted somewhere along the line, most of which are now gone. But it's excellent. It would be good to keep it in color if you can.
Oh, we are. Yeah, I'm going to have them reproduced in color.
Councilman Delango?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Aye.
Councilman Crody?
Aye.
And Supervisor Crody.
Aye. Under other matters, one of the things I have is we usually make a motion regarding the allowable expenses for those going to the Association of Towns Annual Meeting Training School. These are the usual amounts that we allow for meals. The motion to approve and authorize reimbursement of meal expenses with a limit of $20 for breakfast, $30 for lunch, and $50 for dinner, in addition to transportation expenses to and from the site of the Association of Towns Annual Meeting and Training School February 15th through 18th, 2015.
I'll second that motion, or did you make that motion?
Yes.
So I'll second that motion.
Discussion?
Okay.
I mean, where I work, that's a lot for meal reimbursement, is it?
Is that what we usually
It's
do?
just what we had set in the past. It certainly doesn't mean you have to meet that, but it is expensive in that we're at 54th Street. I certainly can eat on less than that, but what amount is appropriate? I mean, we just said it, and most people can meet or do better than that, right?
Yeah, the state comptroller actually has a dollar amounts that are permitted, so I know for the Clerks Association, I think I get $57 for dinner. They do.
Well, maybe you town clerks can afford it, but we're just town council.
Yeah, so what numbers would you, I mean, so,
The town is under what the state comptroller,
I mean,
For
for
the area.
for where I work, we get $12 for breakfast, $12 for lunch, and $20 for dinner. And I do work in Manhattan. That's what we get.
12 for lunch and 12 for breakfast, is that
Yeah.
right? Okay. It's,
So do you want to do
I'm
15
just
for
putting
both?
this out there. I don't know
um,
how the board feels.
so, I don't go out to eat very often there, so I don't really know, but I know at times that you can easily get a bill of $25 for lunch.
that's just staying in the hotel.
Grabbing
Because
some-
usually we just stay right there in the hotel. We don't have,
Oh, the hotel's really expensive.
so that little one on the second floor, you know, like,
Yeah. Oh, the cafe, I haven't done that thing. How much is that?
I've always stayed in my limit. I don't know, whatever was always, I've always.
Well, that's the
stayed in
limit we've used, right?
And if you go over that limit, it's your responsibility. And you don't cover alcohol.
Right. So she thinks
Throw
she can
that
do it
whole
for
that
less
way.
than 50.
So you can, that's.
Could you
that's
imagine?
tough.
That's tough, but we can try. We can separately
Unless you
do
set it, unless you
yogurt
set
across the
a
street.
dollar amount for the day, and if you don't wanna eat breakfast and lunch and you just eat dinner.
Yeah.
Well, that's a per diem. I don't know, what do you want,
I
what do you
don't know, I
think?
guess I would say go somewhere in the middle. Okay, if you think $100 is on the high side, then, and you say you can do it for 44, if you know where you're going, but we're on a pretty tight time frame,
Let's
and
do
we don't
80.
really know.
Total.
I'd say 75 total
75,
a
that's
day, and you just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Not bad.
75 a day, and just
Yeah.
see how that goes? Because we're not
Let's give it a
clever, 'cause
try.
we don't know necessarily where to get the deals.
So you want to do a per diem instead of an individual?
Yeah, per diem. So that
Okay,
you
so
just
I'll,
figure it
okay,
out.
so I'll amend the motion to authorize reimbursement of meal expenses with a limit of $75 per
Per day,
diem,
Right. I'll second that.
excluding alcohol.
Right.
Sorry, I just
Bring your own.
didn't mean to ruin the party.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Councilman Delango,
Abstain.
Councilman Hitzelberger,
Aye.
Councilwoman Doyle,
Aye.
Councilman Prody,
Aye.
and Supervisor Prody.
Aye. And I just wanted to announce we'll have a brief executive session to discuss employment history for particular persons. Is there any public comment? Public comment? Yeah. Town board comments?
I'd like to start.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd like to remind the community that Thursday, February 19th, here at the Amenia Town Hall, there's a blood drive from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you'd like to sign up for a specific time, please feel free to call me here at the town clerk's office, 373-8860, extension 101, or email me at townclerk@ameniany.gov. I hope you can make it. Thank you.
Any
Okay.
other town board comment?
I'd like to ask everyone, come one, come all, to the Amenia Fire Company's Pancake Breakfast. It is February 15th from 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Adults $7, seniors and under 12 are $6. Come and have one of the best omelets you'll ever had, made by our very own town clerk here.
Thank you, Stephen. I would like to say that we really do need to follow our procurement policy. I thought it was a good debate. I thought it just went on too long, but I think we do need to, in anything other than an emergency, we need 3 quotes. And I remember our last bookkeeper was adamant that before you submitted your voucher, you needed to include the quotes that were required by your procurement policy. And I vow to go back and read it carefully and remember the thresholds, if it's a $250 or $500 threshold, if you need 1 or 2 quotes. And I think that the whole town board is responsible, and the committees are all responsible for following that procurement policy as to the best of our abilities. And in cases of an emergency, and I think those are deemed by the supervisor when she needs to go ahead and just make a move. But I apologize, Mike, for it just seemed that we should move on and get to the other issues that we need to do. And sometimes there's gray areas about when to call it an emergency and when not to, but I think we should all follow it. The other thing is that I would like permission to use the town hall for our regional pony club rally. It draws kids from all over the region. As far as Orange County has an active pony club ourselves. It's a D rally. It's just about quizzes. So we're going to use the town board room, the planning board room, and the auditorium to do circulating teams where the kids work together to answer questions in a classroom style. It takes all day. It will be on Sunday, March 29th.
I make
And
a
we will
motion
pay the
for
$25.
Vicky's Pony Club
Rally.
fees to be waived.
Oh, we're going to pay it. All we need is permission to do that, and we have the insurance.
Okay.
She
Make-
actually has the form. She's all set.
I just need
She's
the
making the
authority.
announcement.
Okay,
No,
the
no, I need the
29th,
authority, don't I?
it's a
No.
Sunday?
Yeah, it's the
Not
weekend.
if you want to pay, if you're going to
If you're
pay.
paying, you're good.
Have a good
If you
Yeah,
time.
if you're
wanna leave-
paying, you're good. You don't,
Okay.
Yeah.
all you
Never
need
mind.
to do is.
I'll take your money.
Dawn will
Just
take
have it
your
here
money.
somewhere.
I'll take the money just like
Good to
commission.
go.
Okay, I'll take
Okay, we are done with that.
Done. Thank you.
Is there any other town board comment?
Regarding the hazard mitigation plan, the letter was received on January 21st. The
Not by
application
me.
sent on January 21st. The application's not due until tomorrow. This is an instance where I felt it could have been discussed in front of the board prior to submission, and that's my comment on that.
Any other town board comment? Like to make a motion to go into executive session?
Second?
Councilman Delango?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Aye.
Councilwoman Doyle? Aye. Councilman Prody? Aye. And Supervisor